Hi everyone, good evening to all of you. We are discussing crucial topics for geography. My name is Ashna Sisodia and let us start with our topic in continuation. Today we are going to discuss the planets. What are planets? Planets are the objects that orbit around a star in an elliptical path. There are in total of 8 planets and 5 dwarf planets in our solar system which orbit the sun. Planets outside our solar system, they are called as exoplanets. So please remember, those that are outside our solar systems will be termed as exoplanets. The main difference between a planet and a dwarf planet is its size. That is the size. Actually, the dwarf planets, as the name suggests, they are small. They don't have a distinct orbital path, which means celestial debris are present in its orbital path. And based on the position of the planets, they are divided into inner planets and outer planets. Inner planets include Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Whereas outer planets include Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and we have Pluto as a dwarf planet. Now, inner planets, they orbit near the sun, that's why they are known as inner planets. And the inner planets are also called as the terrestrial or Earth-like planets. Earth-like planets. So we can divide planets into two main categories. That is small rocky terrestrial planets which are near the sun and large hydrogen-rich Jovian planets which are far from the sun. Let us try to understand the differences. Let us compare them. Terrestrial planets are closer to the sun, Jovian are far from the sun. Terrestrial planets are closely spaced orbits and they have small masses, small radii and predominantly rocky in nature. They have solid surface, high density, but comparatively we say that they have slower rotation and weak magnetic fields. They have no rings and few moons. Whereas Jovian planets, they are widely spaced orbits. They are having large masses, large radii, and predominantly they are gaseous. They have no solid surface, they have low density and faster rotation, and compared to terrestrial they have strong magnetic fields and they have many rings and many moons. So we can see that Mercury is rocky, Venus is rocky, and Earth is also rocky, Mars is rocky, and whereas other planets, Jovian planets, are all gaseous planets. Now let's try to understand that terrestrial planet is having an iron core. Iron core, another difference, and because Jovian planets are less dense, so they are made up of gases. Okay, now that we have covered this, let's go ahead and cover one planet at a time. So let's start with Mercury first of all. Mercury is also known as the small world. It is the smallest planet in our solar system. Smallest it is, and it is only slightly larger than Earth's moon. It is also the closest to the sun, that is located about 58 million kilometers from it. This is the distance from the sun. Mercury is also the fastest planet in our solar system because it travels through space at 47 kilometers per second and it takes only 88 Earth days for Mercury to complete one revolution around the sun. but it takes 59 Earth days to complete one rotation. To complete one rotation. These are some of the important points of Mercury. And like that of the moon, the surface of Mercury is extremely rocky. It is full of craters. Mercury has no rings around it. It has no satellite, no moons around it. The atmosphere of Mercury is very, very thin atmosphere. So it is the fastest planet, please remember that, in our solar system. And another thing that you have to remember is that it has got such a thin atmosphere that you cannot even breathe there. You cannot even breathe there. So it's a tough place for life. It is unlikely that life as we know it could survive on Mercury due to solar radiation and extreme temperatures. Two NASA missions have explored Mercury so far. And what are these missions? You can remember the names. One is the Mariner 10, that was the first to fly by Mercury, and another one is Messenger. Messenger was the first to orbit. Okay, and European space agencies. There is a mission, Bepi Colombo, that is on its way to Mercury. So that's about Mercury. Now let's cover Venus. Now Venus is the second closest planet to Sun after Mercury, and it is located at a distance of about 108 million kilometers from Sun. It is often referred to as Earth's twin. It is called as Earth's twin because of the similarity in size and density. And it orbits around the Sun every 225 Earth days. And when it comes to rotation, it rotates once in 243 Earth days. That is for rotation. Now Venus, a unique fact about Venus that one must remember is that this is the hottest planet in our solar system with a surface temperature of 475 degrees Celsius. And the atmosphere of Venus is so thick and toxic because it is filled with carbon dioxide. And therefore it acts as a greenhouse trapping heat. A significant difference between Venus and Earth is that Venus rotates on its axis but backward, whereas we can say that in clockwise direction, which means that on Venus the sun rises on the west and sets on the east. Then we have Earth. This is our home. It is the third planet from the sun and it is located about 150 million kilometers from the sun. It is the fifth largest planet in the solar system. The Earth appears like a sphere, however, it is not a perfect sphere. That is why the shape of Earth we refer to that as geoid rather than a sphere. And due to the force caused by the Earth's rotation, the north and the south pole is slightly flat. From here it is slightly flat. And the equator is somewhat bulged. The shape of the Earth is that of an oblate spheroid, or we call it as geoid. The Earth rotation around its axis is 24 hours and it completes an orbit around the sun in 365 days. Earth is a rocky planet dotted with mountains, valleys, plains and other landforms, and it is the only planet in the solar system with liquid water on its surface. The Earth's atmosphere has 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen and 1% of other components. The perfect balance in the Earth's atmosphere makes life possible. The Earth has no rings around it. It has one natural satellite which we know as the moon. Then we have Mars. Mars is the fourth planet from the sun and appears like a ball. A reddish ball. Why? Because of the iron mineral that are present on its surface. And Mars is located at about 228 million kilometers from sun. It revolves around the sun in 687 Earth days, and it takes a little over 24 hours to rotate once on its axis. Now, Mars has an interesting land surface dotted with extinct volcanoes, polar ice caps, and canyons. And the atmosphere of Mars is very thin, composed of mainly carbon dioxide and some water vapor. Mars has no rings around it, but Mars has two satellites. And these two satellites are called as Phobos and Deimos. Deimos. Then we have Jupiter. Jupiter is the fifth planet from the sun and the largest. Remember that. It is the largest planet in our solar system, and it is composed of gas and liquid, but it does not have a solid surface. The atmosphere is made up of hydrogen and helium, and it takes around 12 years to orbit around the sun. And Jupiter has the largest satellite system with a total of 75 known satellites. And among them, I think few that you must remember. One of them is Ganymede. You can pronounce it like that. And this is the largest satellite of Jupiter. Other important satellites include Europa, which is very, very famous. And Jupiter has rings around it. Then we have Saturn. Saturn is the sixth planet from the sun, which is located 1.4 billion kilometers away from the sun. The planet is composed of gas and does not have a solid surface. Now, Saturn takes 10.7 hours to rotate on its axis and 29 years to revolve around the sun. And then we have Saturn has like satellites, 53 known satellites, and the prominent among them is Titan, very important, which is the largest satellite of Saturn. Saturn has a ring system. Now, these rings are in total of 7 rings. These rings are made up of individual moonlets that orbit Saturn. Then we have Uranus, which is the seventh planet from the sun, located at a distance of 2.9 billion kilometers, and it rotates in clockwise, very, very important, clockwise direction. It takes around 17 hours to complete one rotation, and when it comes to orbiting around the sun, well, it takes around 84 years to complete one revolution. You can say that, to complete one orbit around the sun. Uranus is also called as the ice giant. This is the ice giant, as most of its mass is a hot, dense fluid of icy materials, water, methane, and ammonia. Its atmosphere is primarily made up of hydrogen and helium and methane. Then Uranus has around 27 known satellites, and it has 13 known rings. Then we have Neptune, that is the farthest planet from the sun, located at a distance of 4.5 billion kilometers from it. Neptune is also called as Uranus twin, It's a twin, basically, because of the striking similarity in size, in structure, and composition. Both of them appear to be pale green and blue, sort of color due to the presence of methane in their atmosphere. And Neptune takes around 16 hours to rotate on its axis, and it takes around 165 years to revolve around the sun. For revolution, it takes 165 years, and it has 14 known satellites. It has 9 rings around it. Then we have Kuiper Belt and Pluto. Well, this belt is a donut shaped region that lies beyond the Neptune's orbit, and this is the Kuiper belt, and also called as the trans-Neptunian objects. Now 5 dwarf planets have been discovered to date, and there are 4 dwarf planets in this belt. Pluto is one of them. Another one is Make, and then we have Haumea, and we have Eris. So these are some of the dwarf planet, and Pluto is the largest among all dwarf planets. It is located 5.8 billion kilometers away from Sun. It takes around 248 years to revolve around the Sun and 6 Earth days to rotate on its axis. So the atmosphere of Pluto is again thin, comprising of nitrogen, methane, carbon monoxide, and Pluto has 5 moons, the largest being Charon, which is Charon. And about rings, Pluto has no rings. So these are the planets that are part of our solar system. In the next session, we'll be talking about other members of our solar system. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Take care.